Hello everyone, it is Friday, May 7th, 2021. Of course, Wednesday was New Comic Book Day, which means right now it's time for the new comic book video. It was a really large week for books, so we're going to jump right into it. And then I have a couple of responses to some questions I get from viewers. And then we're going to discuss what's currently happening with CGC as it relates to the comic book industry. And then I picked up a couple of really nice older books that I'm going to show as well. So let's jump right into the books. First one, we're going to do Marvel. This was Carnage, Black, White, and Blood. This was #1, but this is a second print. Pick that one up there like that. What I thought was a really good cover, which was Carnage, Black, White, and Blood #3. Just like that cover when I saw it. So I was like, you know what? That's the cover I'm going to buy. Just thought it was really cool looking. So there's that. X-Men, Curse of the Man-Thing. Introducing the Dark Riders. Right there. They're doing a lot of Man-Thing stuff right now, which is nice because I like Man-Thing, Swamp Thing, so it works for me. So here was that there. A book that was really hot and selling really well. This is War of the Bounty Hunters #1. This is one of the covers here. Here's another cover here. And then they had what was called like a dark armor cover. So that was selling pretty good. I believe that was like a 1 in 25. So there's that there. And then we know what happened with this book. This is the second printing of Batman 0 Point #1. Second print. I don't play Fortnite, so I bought these because I'm a Batman fan, but I do know a lot of people, you get some type of a code so you can get armor or something for a character in the game. I know the game is really popular. I'm not saying it's not, just something that I don't do personally. And then #2 came out, so this was cover 1 here. Cover 2. I like that big banana right up there. I thought that was pretty funny. And then, in my opinion, what was the better of the, the best of the different covers, this was the third cover here. So there was that. And again, these were selling really, really well, just jumping off the shelves. Shops were saying, look, a lot of people were in line trying to get that. So, good for them. I got mine just because I collect Batman, so there was that. From DC, Swamp Thing, 3 of 10. I just thought that was a pretty nice cover. Another hot book that came out. This is Batman 108, of course. Miracle Molly was the character there. There's cover A here. And then the Miracle Molly. Oops, my flashlight fell here. And then cover B, Miracle Molly cover right there as well. The next Batman, Second Son, #2 of 4. Of course, these are all DC right now. Suicide Squad. Cover A. First cover appearance of Bolt in costume. And then cover B. Next up, Crime Syndicate, #3 of 6. Cover A. And cover B. That was mainstream, so a lot larger than normally as it relates to the mainstream books. So now we will jump on the independents. The first independent I picked up, this is a one-shot from Aftershock, kind of a tongue twister there. This is Eden, about a girl who can get tattoos and they just disappear. So it's a one-shot. I haven't read it yet, but I did speak to somebody who did read it, and he was like, you know what? It's a pretty good story, so I'm going to give that a shot. Next up, White Widow from Absolute #6. This is one of those storylines, we've talked about this in the past, where it takes so long for issues to come out, it actually hurts the storyline because a lot of people just get tired of waiting and they just don't buy it. So I waited a long time for issue #6. I picked one up, but honestly, I'm kind of over White Widow. From Dark Horse, Jenny Zero. Right there. I read this one. I thought it was pretty good. We'll see where it goes. And then a couple weeks ago, I picked up a book from Zenoscope. I showed you Man Goat and the Bunny Man. I picked up the B cover, which I thought was the really nice cover, but this was the A cover that I was able to finally get in, and I really like this cover as well. There's that there. Not looking too good for that young lady there. From Bad Idea, this is ENIAC number 3. Now, I was one of the ones who actually did buy the books you're supposed to buy before ENIAC 1 came out. And so these are coming in right now, and I just get these for free because I already paid for them when I was ordering my original runs. So there's ENIAC number 3. These are still holding a pretty decent value. We will see. Storyline I am looking forward to from Image, The Good Asian. Kind of a, you know, Chinatown noir, or, you know, noir, whatever you want to, however you want to pronounce it. There's that there. That was one cover, and this was cover 2. Next up from Boom Studios, Eve number 1. About the melting of the polar caps and the struggle to survive. Like that cover, that teddy bear is pretty cool looking right there. Excuse me. This was cover B. And the last book we have is from AWA Upshot. This is Marjorie Finnegan, The Temporal Criminal. Temporal Criminal. Right there. They had a couple of different covers. I just picked up one right there. There's that. And there we have the books for the week. A big, big week for books. Now, last week, this was something I wanted to touch bases on last week. And as you know, Overstreet comes out with the grade, guide for grading comics. Comes out every 5 years or so. This one came out in 2016. And last week, this one came out. So 5 years between the two. Now, the covers are different. The backs are different. The early page advertisements are different as it relates to some of the stories they touch bases on. They also have a really big section this year, which I wasn't too wild about CGC, Matt Nelson, on important issues about comic book pressing. They did this whole write-up about why you should get your books pressed and the importance of getting your books pressed. How about a CGC, takes care of the fact that a lot of books that they get pressed always come back with a little bit of damage, whether one of the staples is attached on an older book or something, but this is not what this video is about. What it is about is when you get into the breakdown of the different grades and the defects of the different grades like this, nothing changed at all. Here's 9.2. First page with pictures. They're using Weird Comics and Shield Wizard. And here you can see this cover here. There's that there. Here's this here. 9.2. Exact same thing. I went grade by grade, page by page. Everything is the same, even what they write about it. They didn't change anything. What is the use of putting a new book out if you didn't change anything, if you didn't add anything? The only thing you added were new stories about, people that are part of the Overstreet Advisory Board, which is pretty much connected with CGC because Overstreet and CGC are kind of together. And they talked about pressing, which is another thing that CGC is trying to push, was the pressing. So there was nothing new. You mean in all of this, none of the grading standards in the last 5 years have changed. Nothing has been adjusted. Nothing has, been fixed. I don't understand that. I mean, you're going to charge, $24 for a book, and I buy it every year, or I buy it every time it comes out, just like I buy the Overstreet price guide, because I like to see what's changing in the industry. Like I stated, I'm very confident in my grading. The people who buy from me are confident in my grading, but I like to see what's changed in the industry. I like to see what these other graders are using and whether they're using this or not. Nothing changed from point A to point B. Very, very disappointing. And I've gotten a couple of comments from viewers about, my hatred for CGC or my dislike for graded books. I am not a big graded book fan. Now, like I've stated 1,000 times, there are books that I think should be encapsulated to protect them. And those are mostly golden age books or really high key books. If you have books from the 40s, you know, a lot of pre-code stuff, some of the old EC stuff, and you want to get that, you know, graded, or you want to get that encapsulated, go ahead, take care of it. That way it saves the grade, you know, that it's in, and people don't touch it, or, you know, whatever your point may be. I don't have an issue with that. My issue has always been people sending in mass amounts of books, and, you know, the grading standards that come out really, really bad. Now, someone was asking me, you know, I jumped on the bandwagon, blah, blah, blah. Well, I didn't really jump on the bandwagon. I pretty much drove the bandwagon as it relates to what's going on right now today in the industry, as it relates to CGC's subpar grading standards. As you can look at any video now on YouTube, and there are videos coming up almost every week about, you know, their subpar grading standards and how, you know, books are being overgraded, the wait times for the books, the cost that it takes to get the books in. And so I started looking, I started thinking, you know, when I started doing these videos, nobody else was doing this. Nobody was talking about CGC, you know, in the way that, you know, they give discounts on people who put in massive amounts of books if you're a heavy grader, or if you're a heavy dealer with CGC, and I'm sending in 600 books a month. You don't tell me that I'm not getting a little bit better grade on some of these books. BS. That's just the nature of the beast. That's the way the world works. So I thought I would look back. So everybody now does videos on books. You know, these are my new books I picked up this week, and this is my this, and this is that. So I started looking at some of the history of what I did. I did my first CGC rant, my very first one, in July of 2012. That's coming up on 9 years. July 2012, I did my first CGC rant. I was on against CGC way back when, talking about the issues that people are finally seeing today. Then I did a Mylar protection video talking about the importance of Mylar, when back in that time, no one was talking about the importance of Mylar. It was like bags are bags, boards are boards, it doesn't matter. I did my Mylar protection video September of 2012. Again, coming up on 9 years. I did my first weekly pickup video back in October of 2012, where I showed the books that I picked up that week. There was hardly anybody, and I can't even remember who was doing weekly pickup videos in October of 2012. I was doing that because I thought it was fun and people seemed to enjoy it. And then finally, I spoke about the CGC subpar grading standards, as well as how speculators are going to ultimately hurt this industry, which they are, and a lot of people are agreeing with that. And I did that video in April of 2014, which is coming up now on 7 years. So you're telling me that I'm jumping on the bandwagon? People followed me. I led the pack. It's just now that what I saw years ago, people are just now starting to see, and now you see nothing but CGC bash videos as it relates to their grading standards, their messed up cases, the rainbow rings, the cost it takes, the amount of time it takes to get back. I was saying that years ago, but now people are finally realizing, oh, you know what? You were right, or you did see that way back when. Because when I was putting those videos out, a lot of you who've watched this channel for a long time know I was taking tremendous verbal abuse at shows, locally here at comic shops, on my channel, just because of the things that I was saying. And I always told people, they're my views, but ultimately you're going to see that happen down the road. And then you can look back and say, you know what? He was right. Guess what? I was right. It happens. It's happening now. People are seeing that. More and more people are going to CBCS. I've said all along, if you're going to get books graded, go to CBCS, because ultimately CGC is going to dig their own grave and people are going to break away from them because of the way they do their books and the way that they really don't take a lot of time to protect customers' books. And guess what's happening now? People are jumping the bandwagon, and a lot of people are going to CBCS because ultimately, even though CGC is still seen by a lot of you as the king of the mountain, they're coming back down the hill a little bit, and CBCS is catching up with them. There are 3 companies that they talk about in here as it relates to third-party graders, and it's CGC, obviously, CBCS, and a company called Halo. CBCS, a few years from now, is going to be the one that everybody wants, and that ultimately those books are going to start going up like it does with anything. So there was that. So again, for those of you out there, I didn't jump on the bandwagon. I started the bandwagon. I drove that fucking thing, in this industry, and I'm glad that a lot of people are finally starting to see that. Sorry for my language. So now that the little rant is over, we can talk about a few books that I picked up, because I always like to end on a high note, and I know people like that. One of the big complaints I hear a lot is I can't find any old books out in the wild, meaning, hunting, comic shops, swap meets, yard sales, whatever. Just, I can't find anything out there. Well, you can find big collections, but I found 3 books or 4 books that I'm pretty happy with. Nothing really, really big high grade, or nothing really big high end, but 4 really nice books at a really good price. And this is how, unfortunately, purchases are going to have to be done, because, again, so many people are trying to buy everything they can and just hoard up on stuff. This is what's going to happen. So the first one I picked up was Avengers number 37. I graded this a 4.5. Again, just pretty cool. It's a lower Avengers book. Anything pre-50 is pretty nice. So I picked this one up here. I picked up this right here, this Thor 157. Graded this a 5. Kind of a cool looking cover right there. And the last one I picked up was Thor number 203. Graded this a 6.0. This is, of course, is the second appearance of Eagle Prime. Nice looking cover right there. I picked these up for my friend Joe over at Fire Force Comics here in Las Vegas. So if you have time, you're ever in town, stop by and see him. Tell him I sent you, and he'll do you real good. Him and his wife are great people. Very friendly, very, very nice. So again, the 3 books I picked up: Thor 203, 157, Avengers 37. Again, not high grade at all, but you know what? Just really nice books, just something to throw in the boxes and then ultimately be sold one day. And yesterday I was out with my wife and she had to do a couple things. So I stopped at a shop here locally and I'm just looking at stuff, and there was nothing really out there that I was interested in, nothing real big. And then I went to one of the other front cases and I found a book that I picked up for a very good price. I paid $36 for this. This is All Great Comics #1 from 1946. I graded this a 6.5. This is a really clean copy of this book. And for the price, you can't beat it. Why would you pass that up? A book from 1946 that presents really, really nice and is a really nice mid-grade 6.5 for a fantastic price. So I was like, you know what? I'm grabbing that all day. Here it is. And again, the days of being able to find huge collections, especially here in Nevada, you got to drive a long ways to get to Utah. There's never a lot of things up in Utah. California gets picked clean because there's so many people in California trying to collect, so you don't get a lot of books doing that. And so it's going to be one of those things where you drive around, you take a trip, you're driving in town, maybe someone picks up a little collection, you pick up 1 or 2 books. I've had pretty good success with my friend Brian over at Cosmic Comics as it relates to being able to find some of the older books, because he knows what I like. So, whenever he gets some stuff in, he'll give me a call, and I appreciate that. But again, the days of finding huge collections, that's pretty much over right there. So it's not going to happen. And then one last thing, there was a new shop that opened up in a shopping mall here in town, and we were in the area, and I thought, let's stop and take a look at it. I saw, a little thing on Facebook about it. And so I walk in, and the guy's got tons and tons of books, but it's real crowded, and they weren't friendly at all. Didn't get a greeting when I walked in. Don't care too much about that. But you couldn't find anything. You couldn't find anything because the boxes didn't have anything in any type of order. They had all these books on racks. They had tons of copies of stuff, a lot of new stuff. The older stuff really wasn't in the best condition. And When I walked up to the counter, I said, excuse me. He's like, what? I was like, okay, well, shoot, good for you. Do you have any pre-code? He's like, no. And then he just turned away from me and just kind of ignored me again. So you know what? Screw you, buddy. If that's the type of business you're going to do, that's up to you. But that's another one of those things where people just open shops. Obviously, he doesn't have, he had a crap load of new books, a ton. I mean, just tons and tons of books. But other than that, the guy came across as a jackass. And, I'm not going to waste my time like that. And that attitude and the way that you do business with your company, I'm not going to give you the benefit of telling you what the shop's name is because it's not worth it to me. But you know what? I wish you the best, but you're not going to last that long if that's the way you're going to do business because, comic book people don't want to be treated like second-class citizens. And it doesn't really matter to me. I don't have to buy anything from you whether I wanted it or not. So there was that. So again, we touched bases on a lot of stuff today. Another kind of a long video. I hope you like the older books. I'm going to show that All Great Comics again one more time. Again, really, really cool looking book and just presents really, really nice. So I hope you enjoyed that. And again, as it relates to everything else, I've been saying things, I take my time to really investigate things. My views are my views. A lot of people locally here in town know that. They know that my grading standards are spot on, or pretty much, a lot tougher than what other people think they should be. But again, that's good for the business because if I'm grading something a 6 and you think it's a 7.5, buy it because you're getting a grade and a half bump on it already. So there was that. But again, I've been doing this since day one. Again, I'm a leader, not a follower as it relates to this industry and my personal views as it relates to weekly comic books and the things that we discussed in this video today. So there was that. So that's pretty much all we have today. So I hope you liked the video, but as always, if you didn't, nothing I can do for you. Have a great, great day. Have a happy Mother's Day and keep hunting. You just may have to look before you find a book.